At this point, it makes sense to show you how we can, for example, create an environmental light, and then how to place additional lights and start illuminating our object. Now in Alias or Blender, you sculpt the three-dimensional shape. In digital rendering, you basically sculpt with materials and lights, so you have illuminated and shadow areas to basically enhance the three-dimensional effect of an object. So first step, we set the engine to cycles. Then we go to the world, click use nodes, and set this one to white. I can click on render. You see, if I rotate my view and move it around, it updates all the time. So that's pretty nice. It starts very coarse and then it cleans up. If I zoom in, you see there are lots of artifacts, and that is because we are rendering currently in orthographic. So I press 5 on my numpad, so I'm in perspective. Now to control the perspective view a little bit more, you can press N and go to view and set the lens maybe to, I don't know, 55. Changes the foreshortening a little bit. It's not as fish lens. It's more like a tele lens. Okay. Now everything looks pretty dull. It's very over illuminated, and that's because we have one white environment that shoots out all the light into our scene. So what I can do is simply I go and say 0.25 for the strength, and well, everything looks the same. It's just duller because I lowered the energy. So you see, this way actually you can change the strength of the background. We can even turn it off by 0.25. Let's see if there are some settings we would like to click. Yes, of course, this multiple importance we would like to keep, and all this we basically leave as is. So this is basically how we can quickly create kind of like a basic illumination. So we are going to use this background with a quarter energy simply as a fill light. Think about like when you're inside a room, sunlight is going through the windows and then it's bouncing off the walls and the floor and starts to illuminate your room. Think about this light being exactly the same. And in addition, now we need to place key lights. So to add a key light, I'm going to press right mouse button, set my 3 cursors somewhere there, go to add lamp and area, and we a little bit too big. It's overexposing the image. Okay, so let me show you where we can set up all the settings for a light. Inside the property panels, you see when you have a light selected, you have the light option. If I click on an object, I have the material option. Because essentially, if I click on it, this is a light that uses an emission shader. So let's take a look at all the settings we have. We have an area light. It casts a shadow. It is 10 centimeters big. This one we want to have turned on. And it has a strength of 100. How does 10 look? Still too strong. And 1. Still too strong. And 0.1. Oh, look, that actually looks better. It's softer now. Okay. What can I do with the area light? I can, for example, rotate it a little bit. Oh, and I would like this one along the x-axis to be at 0, so it's nicely centered. Okay, and now there you see how my background light with a quarter energy brightens up everything a little bit, and then this area light shoots light onto this part. Now the area light works like a big diffuser, like a light box in the studio, so it creates diffuse light and soft shadows, and the light is emitted from this surface. If you, for example, would have a flashlight, then, for example, we would use something like a spotlight. See, this is like a cone. So everything inside this object only gets light. So let's take a look at it. Yeah, okay. We also have, for example, a sun. Well, it works like directional light, so very uniform light. But for the inside, you don't want to use that, of course. And then we have something called point light. That's kind of like a light bulb. So from this point, 360 degrees, light is being emitted. Hemi-light you can ignore, but honestly, what we work the most with is simply the area light. So I set this one back to 0.1. If you would like to change the scale of an area light, do not, I repeat, do not simply scale. Use the size, for example, 20 centimeters. And you see when I make this one bigger, the lighting gets softer because this amount of energy now is distributed over a 30 by 30 centimeter surface. If I set this one to 5 centimeter, you see it gets more compressed and stronger. But you also see actually here at the side how much light can only hit, for example, the object. And if I make this one 10 centimeters, you hear this area change nicely. So the area light does not shoot light in a line, but it goes into all directions away from the surface. That's, for example, how you then get also nice and diffuse shadows. We can, if we want to, change the square to a rectangle and see, for example, make this one longer along the Y and actually keep 10 centimeters along X. Okay, and maybe move this one to here. There, perfect. Now, maybe this is a little bit dull. Maybe I want to work on the lower part. So what I can do, Shift A, make another light area, move this one down, say 0.1, multi-importance sample, go to side view, press G, press R, maybe here I type in 90 so it's clean. And now you see I'm shooting light from the top and from the side. And now the sculpting starts. Well, maybe a little bit more light from the top. So I'm brightening up this area a little bit with this light, and I illuminate this area the most with the top light. 2.5 seems to be too big. And to see how a light works, you can easily, for example, press H on other lights, hide them, and you see how this one works. And this is not really good because I'm looking at the side and all the light comes basically from here, how I'm looking. So that's not really ideal. Alt H. So what I'm going to do, I'm moving the slide maybe a little bit down and just rotate it with R so it shoots light up. And there you see already the nice difference. This is really strong. Then we have a shadow area, and then we have a little bit of light coming from below. So maybe 0.15. And pay attention to this really nice highlight here. So you see here I'm sculpting the shapes of my object, illuminating them. So this is really pleasing. Maybe still a little bit too much, 0.18. Be really gentle with those values. Okay. How does one look from here? Well, this area maybe is a little bit too dull. So, side view, position my 3D cursor, Shift A, Hemi-light area, rotate it, maybe shoot a light that direction, and oh, way too strong, 0.1. Now I don't really know how much the slide works, so even here, Shift click and Shift click, H to hide. There you can see how much light this one actually adds. Maybe I just want to just a notch of light. press Alt H to show everything. And then I can compare how does this light with this light work on the rendering. Press H. Now this one is gone. Alt H. See, and then I can compare. Well, maybe double this one. Now see, it's getting difficult to see the difference there. This is a better contrast. So now there I reached too much light. So actually I go back to 0.2. Yeah, so this is not too dark. This is slightly brightened up. Okay. And maybe this one I increase a little bit there. And maybe I change the angle and go a little bit more below. There. Let me see. Now you can really see highlighted, shadow, highlighted, and you really start seeing the three-dimensional shape so much better than, for example, with uniform light. This area is a little bit dull, so maybe Shift D, rotate this one to there, top view 7, rotate. I'm curious if this maybe can help. All those are turned off, so I see how this one works. 0.1. Oh, that one is not too bad. So it casts shadows here and here. Alt H. Hide this one. Yeah, actually the one I like. So maybe this lower light, I go back and make it softer. So I have more light from the top and from here. 0.2. Yeah. And basically this way you can continue playing around with those settings as much as you want. You see this one stops at path tracing sample 1010, and this is a little bit grainy. To improve the preview, we can go to the property panels, go to camera, go to sampling, and here say maybe 20. Didn't change too much. 50. Yeah, 50 is okay. It still looks a little bit grainy, but this should only be for the preview. So because this is interactive, every time it hits 50, it simply stops. So your computer doesn't get locked up by calculating that too much. Maybe change the view a little bit. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so I hope that this actually was informative in the way how I'm using the different views in orthographic view to change then the value of all these lights, how I'm adjusting the strength, how I'm working with position and rotation, and then also using H, for example, to hide and show an object. So you can easily isolate, for example, different lights and see how they work, and then with Alt H bring them all back so you can see how all lights work together.